Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Velvet Lounge Life Button Edition. Yes, we are talking about Waterbury Button Company buttons. Isn't that an amazing graphic? Come on, you have to say that it is, even if you don't think it is. Why? Because I obviously listen to my voice. I'm excited about it. I love this picture. And I wish I had this for my collection. That would be amazing. But the purpose of these videos in particular, and there's several of them, is to help you identify your potential Waterbury Button Company buttons. The Waterbury Button Company began in the early 1800s, and I have dozens upon dozens upon, I couldn't tell you how many hundreds, maybe even up to 1,000 of their buttons. So how did I acquire them? I acquired them a lot of ways. One, I live in Connecticut, where the company was established, and you can see the date, 1812. And what does that mean? That means that obviously living in Connecticut, the preferred button company was, hello, the WBC, which is one of the ways that you can identify if you have one of their buttons. So if you turn your button over and you see the hallmark WBC, usually it also will say like CONN, or it might actually spell out the word Connecticut or something. Sometimes not. You will know that you have one of their buttons. Plus, also you're going to be able to identify what their shank styles were. You have to pay particular attention to those, especially on the buttons that don't have a written hallmark on the back. The other way that you can identify if you have one of their buttons is they always put, not always, some of their buttons have the letter W on the back, but there will always be 4 or more W's. If there are not 4 or more capital W's, you do not have a Waterbury Button Company button. Also, the materials that they made their buttons out of were sturdy. These buttons were made to last more than a lifetime, multiple lifetimes. So they were made out of nickel, the number one material being brass. Hello, Waterbury is a brass city, as they call it. And other, even semi-precious and precious materials such as gold, actual silver, aka sterling silver, or 925, which is also the American mark for sterling. They used nickel and other materials, copper, etc. But when they used it, they made it thick, they made it strong. If they put an enamel on their buttons, the enameling was nice and thick so that if you drop the button, if it, rubbed against something, it didn't immediately lose its enameling paint. So those are some of the things that you want to look for. So let's start out with this beauty. This is one of my favorites, and I actually sent one of these to a friend recently. And as you can see, it's full of flowers. There's a tulip on the bottom, as well as a heart up there at the top, and other flowers on the left and right side. And you can see all of the detail that's around the edge with, fern, greenery, and look at that enameling. And what they would do to enamel a button like this is they would pour the enameling in and wipe the excess off to reveal, as you saw, that beautiful design. And this one, you can see, has 0 hallmarks on the back, but you can see this really light, almost what I call a dimpling. I don't know what else to call it. That's one of the signs of a Waterbury Button Company button. Also, pay attention to how the shank is encircled. All of the shank, this whole back part with the shank is one piece. But notice the circle within a circle, like all those details will help you identify if you have one of these buttons. And also look at the edge, how it's been, the back has been added to the front of this particular button. So here's another style. This one is completely enameled. Some people might, just pass this button by because they're like, oh, it's just a black enamel button. But did you flip the button over to see what's on the other side? First of all, nice, cool, different type of design for a charm string type button. And look at that shank. And then also notice the word Waterbury Co's. That wording is on the back, so it's Waterbury, C-O-S, for Waterbury Companies, in C-O-N-N period, Connecticut, and you will know you have a Waterbury Button Company button. The other hallmark they used was WBC, and as I stated, this button has the 4 W's on the back. And once again, that familiar shank style and how they applied it, and look at the front. Absolutely stunning, the detail in that. And this one is made of nickel. So one of the things that they also were famous for is creating what I call mother or parent and, because I'm biased. So sorry, dads, but listen to me, parent and child buttons. So that's where you have the same style button, but one is larger than the other. So they would require 2 different dies to create this because, hello, sizing. But the style, at least, was something that was the same. It was familiar. It was, something if you're making a coat and maybe you want different size buttons for your cuffs versus the actual buttons on the breast of the coat, then there you go. And I'll just show you one of them because they're almost exactly the same. So you can see what that shank style looks like. So if you think you have any of these buttons, please leave a comment down below and let me know how many you were able to dig out of your collection or, your little gathering of buttons that you have. And if you can, then put a little description down below in the comments so that I can see if I actually have one of those buttons too. And look at this one with a W on the back, the 4 W's. So very familiar, isn't it? And this very cool, like cross hatch, almost like a basket weave design. That is this button I didn't really appreciate when I initially had it, but I like it a lot now. Please remember, once again, subscribe to the channel, thumbs up it, subscribe, so that YouTube knows that people do like this type of content. And I will continue showing you buttons here until the video runs out. So thank you so much for tuning in. We can't do this without you guys. And remember that your health is your wealth. Without your health, you have absolutely nothing. So please, 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 please take care of yourselves, especially now. And this is a small button. Even their small buttons, everything was made with care and quality in mind. That's why this company is still in business today. And I bet you guys you might have some of these buttons in your collection. And I do have more videos coming out, as well as those that are already published. Look at the playlist for this, for buttons, on my channel. Look down below in the description. You'll see show notes that will give you more